How'd You Create That is supported by the Open Institute for Social Science. It is a podcast about the creative process behind creating a work of art. Hello there! Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Alfa, and today, Pooja Poudel joins me to discuss her short story, The Man on the Bus. Her story won first place in Writing Nepal 2021. She has an MFA in Arts and Humanities and currently works in the arts industry. We dive into her story, her creative process, and a fun rapid-fire session. Icebreaker question. What's your favorite season and why?
I think it's probably around your Dasai time.
Autumn.
It's like pre-autumn. Autumn so it's still green pani huncha ani mazale काम लागिरहेको पनि हुन्छ. I used to think I was an autumn person, but I realized I'm just अगाडिको मान्छे.
Pre-autumn. I am actually an autumn person. I love the tiharko, marigolds, the smell. I get allergic as well, but you are the pre-autumn person. Nice term. We have a new season coined by Pooja, pre-autumn. So Pooja, we'll be talking about your short story, The Man on the Bus, that won first place in Writing Nepal 2021, which is 2 years ago at the time of this recording. I read the story and it's really, it has this pace and cyclical. There's something happening and there's mystery and I want to know more. Ke huna lageko cha next? There's this mystery pani cha and there's tension. There's a lot of things happening. So my first question, how'd you create that? How did the idea and the concept come?
So त्यो टाइममा चाहिँ के थियो भन्दा म ठ्याक्क मास्टर्स गरेर फर्केको थिएँ होइन अनि आर्टमा मास्टर्स गरेको थिएँ अनि यु हेभ दिस काइन्ड अफ हुन्छ नि अब चाहिँ म के गर्नुपर्छ हुन्छ नि देयर इज सो मच मोटिभेसन अनि त्यही कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ सँगसँगै यो इट वाज अ टाइम वेन मास्टर्स गरेर भर्खर फर्काएको थियो नेपाल अनि आई ह्याड अ लट अफ मोटिभेसन अब कामहरू बनाउनुपर्छ आर्टवर्क्सहरू क्रिएट गर्नुपर्छ यस्तो भन्ने एकदमै मन थियो अनि एट द सेम टाइम त्यो पब्लिक ट्रान्सपोर्टमा हुने हरासमेन्ट हुन्छ नि इट इज समथिङ द्याट हेज अलवेज स्टेड विथ मी के आफूले पनि एकदमै धेरै फेस गरिरहेको थियो पहिला इभन यङ्गर हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ यु डोन्ट नो एनिथिङ अबाउट इट के गर्ने त यस्तो भयो भनेर सो अ लट अफ दोज मेमोरिजहरू चाहिँ दे ह्याड स्टेड विथ मी अनि आई वान्टेड टु वर्क अन द्याट नै अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ आई वाज थिङ्किङ अब के गर्ने होला आई वाज थिङ्किङ अफ राइटिङ माई ओन स्टोरी एन्ड देन कलेक्टिङ अदर स्टोरिज के अरूको स्टोरिजहरू पनि लेखेर मेबी आई क्यान मेक समथिङ आई क्यान इभन टक टु बसको ड्राइभरहरू कन्डक्टरहरू उहाँहरूसँग पनि कुरा गर्न सकिन्छ कि इट वाज दिस बिग प्लान के हुन्छ नि आई वाज थिङ्किङ लाइक 50 वुमेनसँग कुरा गर्नेहरू हुन्छ नि लाइक द्याट मेनी पिपल बट आई रियलाइज द्याट इट वाज अ लट मोर हुन्छ एकदमै ठुलो थियो क्या त्यो अ लट अफ एम्बिसन बट त्यसको त्यो अनुसारको रिसोर्सेस त्यो टाइम इभन आई एम नट अ भेरी आउट गोइङ पर्सन कि अनि डु आई हेभ द्याट ब्यान्डविथ इन मी टु इनिसिएट सच अ प्रोजेक्ट भनेर पनि आई वाज डाउटिङ माइसेल्फ के बट आई ह्याड दोज आफ्नो एन्डको स्टोरिज चाहिँ आई वाज राइटिङ इट अनि त्यही बेलामा आई स यो राइटिङ नेपालको त्यो पोस्ट के अनि आल बी अनेस्ट मैले स्टोरी हुन्छ नि एज एन एडल्ट त्यो मेरो फर्स्ट स्टोरी हो कि अनि बच्चा बेलामा टिनेज हुँदासम्म चाहिँ होइन अब कति पढ्थ्यो अनि यु वान्ट टु राइट होइन अनि त्यसरी चाहिँ अलिअलि लेखाएको थियो बच्चा बेला तर त्यति बेला चाहिँ आई डोन्ट नो समथिङ के भयो त्यति बेला चाहिँ आई वाज लाइक आइ एम गोइङ टु राइट अ स्टोरी आफ्नो चाहिँ लेखिसकेको छ त्यसलाई नै आई बिल्ड इट इन्टु अ स्टोरी भनेर चाहिँ गर्न थाल्यो अनि सुरुमा चाहिँ लेख्यो सबै लेख्यो होइन अनि लेखेपछि आई ह्याड नो केही टुल्स पनि छैन मसँग राइटिङको इट्स माई फर्स्ट टाइम हुन्छ नि त्यसरी फिक्सन लेख्ने अनि आई जस्ट रोड इट अनि त्यसपछि 2-3चोटि फेरि त्यसमै गएर अलिकति एडिट गर्दै के हुन्छ जस्ट ह्याड नो आइडिया होइन अनि यतिकै लेखेर अनि आई सेन्ट इट अनि आई ह्याड नो होप कि यो एकदम सेलेक्ट हुन्छ अरे यस्तो हुन्छ भनेर तर पनि अनि सरी अनि सर्टलिस्ट भयो त्यसपछि अनि आई वाज लाइक ल सर्टेज भयो नि मलाई चाहिँ ओहो मेरो स्टोरी यस्तो राम्रो छ र जस्तो हुन्छ नि आई वाज लाइक आई वाज नट एक्सपेक्टिङ इट अनि त्यो सर्टलिस्ट हुँदा नै आई वाज सो ह्याप्पी के ओहो यस्तो भयो तीजनामा सेलेक्ट भयो भनेर अनि बट वेन दे अनाउन्स लाइक जित्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ म टोहा परेँ कि अनि त्यही आई थिङ्क एउटा आर्टवर्क गर्न खोजिरहेको थिएँ तर स्लाइटली मिडियम चेन्ज भएर अर्कोतिर गएँ कि बट इट इज अल्सो समथिङ आई वान्ट टु वर्क फर्दर बट आई डोन्ट नो कसरी गर्ने भनेर आइ एम स्टिल थिङ्किङ अबाउट इट भनौँ न त्यो कुरा चाहिँ मसँग बसिरहेको छ
I think हामीले we talked about your story पहिला पनि Writing Nepal, that's where we met for the very first time. And you'd mentioned that your story came in as an artwork, but ended up as a short story, like a fiction short story. So how was the process of going from one medium, because you are an art graduate, so art projects haru pani gareko hola. So how was it converting एउटा medium बाट अब story भनेको त अर्कै medium भयो and like you mentioned you're writing for the first time. So त्यो medium change haru हुँदाखेरि how did you approach the story or the change in medium or the entire process?
I think it became easy. एकदमै इजी भयो लेख्नलाई चाहिँ बिकज आई डिडन्ट ह्याभ टु गो फिल्डमा गएर इन्टरभ्यू लिने अर स्टोरिज कलेक्ट गर्ने इट फेल लाइक त्यो सबै कुरा जस्ट भ्यानिस त्यति बेला होइन अनि आई वाज जस्ट राइटिङ अन माई ओन इट वाज मी एन्ड माई कम्प्युटर के अनि त्यो हिसाबले चाहिँ इट फेल अ लट इजियर बट आई वाजन्ट थिङ्किङ लाइक यो कामको सट्टा नै चाहिँ म यो लेख्छु हुन्छ नि द होल प्रोजेक्ट विल बिकम दिस वान स्मल स्टोरी भन्ने चाहिँ थिएन बट आई इन सम वे आई निडेड एन आउटलेट अनि त्यो आउटलेट देयर वाज अ लट अफ रेज हुन्छ नि त्यो मेमोरिजहरूको चाहिँ एकदम इम्प्याक्ट थियो ममा चाहिँ अनि त्यही भएर आई निडेड एन आउटलेट पनि सो त्यसरी चाहिँ त्यो निस्क्या हो आई डोन्ट थिङ्क त्यसले यसको ठाउँमा यो आयो भन्दा पनि इट लेड टु समथिङ एल्स भनौँ न
Yeah, a few days back talking to other artists, writers, and we were saying medium चाहिँ हामी usually हामी अब this is the medium भनेर we start a work but usually त्यस्तो नहुन पनि सक्छ कहिलेकाहीँ not usually but sometimes maybe you were writing a poem तर story भयो maybe you're writing a story it ends up a podcast like the one we're on so त्यस्तो हुन सक्छ like medium is never final when you're creating a work of art. How did you approach writing the story? एकै settingमा लेखियो कि was it written in parts? How did you edit? Did you get feedback अरूबाट? What was that process like? It was, like you said, your first story.
In my head, I wanted to write it in one sitting because words were coming कि आफै instinctively आइरहेको थियो कि लेख्नु मन लाग्ने भनेर अनि तर एकै सिटिङमा चाहिँ लेख्न आई थिङ्क इट टुक मी 2-3 days बट आई वाज लाइक वेन आई वाज एट इट मजाले लेख्थ्यो क्या 2-3 घन्टासम्म मजाले अनि त्यसपछि राख्ने छोडिदिने 2-3 दिनपछि फेरि हेरेर एडिट गर्ने यस्तो थियो अनि मैले कोही राइटर्सहरू पनि चिन्थेन फिडब्याक देऊ अथवा यस्तो देऊ भनेर सो इट वाज लाइक कम्प्लिटली मी अनि बहिनीलाई पढ्न दिन्थेँ बरु अनि उसले चाहिँ पढेर अब उसलाई पनि त्यस्तो हुन्छ नि एक्सपिरियन्स त्यस्तो राइटर त होइन बट लाइक सेकेन्ड ओपिनियन पाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ इट हेल्प अलिकति अनि या इट वाज लाइक आई डोन्ट नो हाउ आई रोट इट अहिले सम्झिँदाखेरि चाहिँ
It just came to you. Had to be written.
It happened to me when somebody asked me about my writing. I'll say it happened to me. I don't know. I had no plans for it, and it just happened, I guess.
That's so lovely to say. Writing happened to you. So how do you approach writing now? After it's been like 2 years and you won the contest and you've won other international contests as well. Oile aira, when you look back at it, how has your writing process, your creative process of writing changed, or maybe it has also affected your art process of creating other kinds of mediums?
The writing Nepal पछि चाहिँ I think it was I was extremely surprised तर at the same time there were a lot of questions that arise के अनि is this a one time thing हुन्छ नि त्यो चाहिँ एकदमै भइरहेको थियो अनि will I be able to write other stories अरू कुरा पनि लेख्न सक्छ कि अनि it's a completely different thing के आर्टबाट लिटरेचरमा जानलाई अनि त्यो पनि भइरहेको थियो तर I kept writing I guess I you know it was a motivation त्यो award जितेर पनि I think त्यसले पनि motivation भयो अनि I started writing अरू कुरा पनि but I don't know it took me a lot of time to consider myself as a writer or introduce myself as a writer अनि I remember त्यो एउटा सिम्पोजियममा चाहिँ उहाँहरूले मलाई इन्भिटेसन लेख्दाखेरि चाहिँ राइटर पूजा पौडेल भनेर थियो कि अनि आई लुक एट इट एन्ड उहाँहरूले चाहिँ भनिदिनु भयो म राइटर भनेर अनि आई ह्याड त्योभन्दा अगाडि म आफू राइटर आफू त्यसरी मैले कहिले पनि इन्ट्रोड्युस गरेको थिएन मलाई त्यस्तो लाग्दा पनि लाग्थेन कि बिकज मेरो स्टोरिजमा आई थिङ्क स्टोरिज नै छ मसँग कि आई डोन्ट ह्याभ दोज राइटिङ टुल्सहरू हुन्छ नि पिपल हु आर लाइक सो मच इन्टु राइटिङ द्याट उनीहरूको फुल टाइम राइटिङ गरेर हुन्छ नि त्यस्तो चाहिँ आई स्टिल फिल अलिकति आई डोन्ट ह्याभ द्याट के आई जस्ट ह्याभ द स्टोरिज अनि आफ्नो बेस्ट लगाएर त्यसलाई आई पुट इट टुगेदर सो अब आई डोन्ट नो वाट आई विल डु विथ इट के आइएम राइटिङ बट आई डोन्ट टेक टु मच प्रेसर पनि बिकज आई हेभ माई आर्ट त्यसको लागि चाहिँ होइन सो आर्ट्समा चाहिँ आई वान्ट टु डु हुन्छ नि म यस्तो गर्छु आई वान्ट टु डु बेटर त्यस्तो हुन्छ अनि कहिलेकाहीँ प्रेसर फिल हुन्छ अनि आफूले पनि प्रेसर राख्छ होइन सो राइटिङ इज समथिङ द्याट इज लाइक कम्प्लिटली माइन्ड हुन्छ नि अनि आई डोन्ट फिल प्रेसर अनि आई डोन्ट टेक प्रेसर पनि अरूले केमा काम गरिरहेछ भन्दाखेरि आई डोन्ट फिल द्याट प्रेसर के सो इन अ वे एकदम लिबर्टी चाहिँ फिल हुन्छ राइटिङमा चाहिँ अनि क्रिएटिभ प्रोसेस पनि आई डोन्ट नो आई जस्ट इट्स त्यो स्टोरिजहरू आई रियलाइज इट हेज अ लट टु डु विथ माई चाइल्डहुड अनि the community I grew up around with, the people I grew up with, the people I knew होइन त्यहाँबाट कति धेरै नै आइरहेको हुन्छ कि मेरो स्टोरिजहरूमा सो त्यही हो अहिले चाहिँ लेखि नै रहेको छु त्यस्तो केही आई डोन्ट ह्याभ अ बिग प्लान फर राइटिङ अहिलेसम्म चाहिँ
You said it so well. You only have stories on it. I think a lot of writers like want to write stories. And the question about who is a writer, के गर्यो भने चाहिँ writer हुन्छ, I think writers write, and probably anybody who writes is a writer. You mentioned art or literature, there is like difference, आफ्नो field भयो, different mediums भयो. Is there any major difference or point of similarity पनि हुन सक्छ point of difference पनि हुन सक्छ because you have like two different mediums that you work with?
I think the creative process is very similar दुबईमा that you consume a lot of artworks or consume a lot of literature नि त if you want to write or if you want to create art पनि कहिलेकाहीँ so त्यो creative process चाहिँ मलाई similar नै लाग्छ difference चाहिँ I've not thought about it exactly. But I feel people are very similar as well, writers and artists.
Yeah. There's a lot of course, it's in the same huge, bigger field of creating things or making things. You said the stories that you write come from your childhood. How do you feel about fictionalizing things that are real? Like kati part of I'm not saying everything, it's not like 100% non-fiction where there are like stats and data and yestै नै हुनुपर्छ भनेर but how do you feel about writing like things that are real and maybe mixing it with fiction or writing about people and real characters or पनि हुन्छ that might get fictionalized in the process?
Personally I feel a lot of connection त्यसमा चाहिँ I feel like त्यो stories they stay with me for हुन्छ नि they have deeper connection with me तर at the same time कहिलेकाहीँ चाहिँ सोच्दा is this my story to tell खालको क्वेसन्सहरू पनि आउँछ अनि but what I usually do is there's a character or there's a setting, there's a situation अनि I त्यसपछि चाहिँ I add it so I don't take all of it हुन्छ नि रियल लाइफको सबै नै बनाएर स्टोरी चाहिँ बनाउँदैन But maybe something, even one object or one characteristic of a person, then I take that and put it into a story, because I'm realizing that completely fiction say, I don't get the same fulfillment. It does not really stay with me for longer.
Like some basis in reality, when it connects with you better. So The Man on the Bus, I read it like sometimes back, and I reread it, and I found so much freshness in it after rereading it. There's a cyclical feeling. It's like you mentioned, it's about like harassment in public buses. So there's a pattern that goes on and round and round. There's a man, then it transfers to the woman, and there's the woman that transfers to the man, and then back to the woman. So break गर्न नसक्ने cycle छ नि त. There's like power dynamics on it, about it. What are your thoughts on that?
I think यो पेट्रियार्कीको कुराहरू चाहिँ इट्स समथिङ वी एक्सपिरियन्स एभ्री डे, घरभित्र घर बाहिरबाट निस्किने बित्तिकै. अनि इट्स अ पार्ट अफ द्याट त्यो बसमा हुने यस्तो केसेसहरू पनि. अनि त्यसमा चाहिँ मेरो एक्सपिरियन्स सुन्दा, अनि मेरो एक्सपिरियन्स अनि अरूको एक्सपिरियन्सहरू सुन्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो हरासमेन्ट हुन्छ, त्यो इन्सिडेन्ट हुन्छ, अनि इट स्टप्स देयर के. अनि द म्यान प्रब्ली विल मुभ अन टु नेक्स्ट बस एन्ड देयर विल बी समबडी एल्स हुन्छ नि. एन्ड देन पिपल हु हेभ बिन इन द्याट प्लेस, मैले त्यो सफर गरेँ भने वी टेक द्याट विथ अस के. त्यो इन्सिडेन्ट इट इज इम्प्रिन्टेड हुन्छ नि इन आवर मेमोरी, इन आवर बडिज हुन्छ नि, त्यस्तो हुन्छ. अनि आई डिड नट वान्ट द स्टोरी टु एन्ड देयर. आई वान्टेड टु टेक द स्टोरी फर्दर. के हुन्छ त त्यो मान्छेको त्यहाँ बसबाट झरेपछि ऊ के गर्छ त, अथवा म के गर्छु त, मलाई त्यस्तो भयो भने एटलिस्ट मैले के गर्न सक्थेँ होला हुन्छ नि. आई इमेजिन दोज सिनारियोज. अनि आई गेस मेरो स्टोरिजमा अल्टरनेटिभ रियालिटिजहरू चाहिँ आई इमेजिन, अनि त्यसबाट नै हुन्छ आई गेस.
लाइक यु सेड दुइटै क्यारेक्टरको इमेजिनेसन छ नि त. लाइक वाट ह्यापन्स नेक्स्ट, both the man and the woman, and that's where the story plays out and the complexity and the layers become visible. The story पढ्दाखेरि चाहिँ when I was rereading it again, I kind of felt the Edgar Allan Poe vibes आइरहेको थियो कि. I'm not sure if you read this short story called Telltale Heart. So there were elements of that, the psychological elements. There's one more story called not by Edgar Allan Poe, it's called The Most Dangerous Game. Richard Connell, one author ko. Yeah, maybe you can give it a read. It's also about power dynamics and how it changes. So The Most Dangerous Game, I'm saying that there is a hunter and there is the hunted. So it's like it has that hunting element to it, and it's at the end of the day about power dynamics. It's been 2 years since the story. Maybe you wrote it even before that, 2 years since the contest. How do you feel about the story now? पछाडि फर्केर हेर्दाखेरि, now that maybe it's sunk. Oh no, now that it has had some time to sink in your head.
I've not read it in a long time. It's been a while. And when I write it, I read the story so many times, and it's weird. But once I'm done with it, I don't really go back to it. But now that you've raised that question, I guess and that's where it all started for me. That story, it not only defined that I was going to be a writer, but it also defined what kind of a writer I was going to be. त्यसमा जस्तो थिम्सहरू छ, जस्तो क्यारेक्टर्सहरू छ. आई थिङ्क त्यो फर्स्ट स्टोरीमा नै आई वाज प्रिटी क्लियर, लाइक आई वान्ट टु राइट लाइक दिस, यस्तो स्टोरी लेख्नु मन छ भनेर चाहिँ त्यो छ. बट द थिम इट्स सेल्फ, त्यसमा चाहिँ आई वान्ट टु वर्क मोर अन द्याट. त्यो पब्लिक हरासमेन्टको चाहिँ आई थिङ्क इट्स अ टपिक द्याट विल अलवेज स्टे विथ मी भनौँ न. त्यही भएर त्यसमा अरू पनि काम गर्नु मन छ. लेट्स सी.
It's definitely not a one-time thing. And I'm sure you'll be able to write so many more. Like, you've already written a few. I've had the chance to read. And it's so powerful when you just said, like, the story define what kind of writer you want to be. Like, that's such a powerful statement. Would you like to read something from The Man on the Bus for us here? Yeah, sure. We have the printouts.
I'm not the best reader. I'll try. Okay. The bus is packed like a can of sardines when it arrives at her stop. She elbows her way through. After almost 2 years of the same commute to work, it feels mechanical now. She stuffs herself beside a seat and holds onto a grab handle. She has gotten used to the warmth of sweat, the slight odor of worn out seat covers, and several simultaneous chit chats about nothing and everything. She used to listen to music on her earphones before she developed a familiarity to this brief journey. Now she enjoys the view of shops passing by, the rattling of the seats adds music to it, and sometimes she can't help eavesdropping on fellow passengers. Once she once she overheard two aunties talking about the growing numbers of vehicles on the roads of Kathmandu. The street looks like a colony of ants. The cars are the big ants and the motorbikes are smaller ants, and they run a never-ending marathon, one of them had said. Other times the driver plays loud remix songs with questionable lyrics. Somehow in this stuffy noise somehow in this noisy sorry somehow in this stuffy noisy metal box she feels the time move differently. This is the only place surrounded with people where she can space out without it being weird.
Thank you. There's so many visual cues in your story. Like Suruko first line, the bus is packed like a can of sardines. You know, like the National Geographic of the Animal Planet of the animal, the sea co documentary. You know, there's like a pack of sardines or fishes moving, and you know it makes you feel like, I don't know. When I watch that, I'm like, "Kusto, kusto," it's like, so you know when you say a bus is packed like a can of sardines, you know it gives. I think the first line is very visual and it opens, and there are so many other visual elements in the story as well. Where do you get these visual cues from to write?
For the longest time it was my everyday life. Then college जाँदा आउँदा अनि बसमै जाने बसमै आउने. So you're very used to that. Okay? If you're traveling in public transport in Kathmandu, you know that. Okay? You can relate to it. सबै कुरा. So yeah, it's just observation, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. But it comes alive in your story. Just the fish and can that comparison and that metaphor, it comes out. And there are so many beautiful words in the story as well. I can't exactly pinpoint what it is, but it is there. Are you working on anything right now? Like, trick question.
I guess I'm always between stories. Ani, it's like I can feel like some work well and then some just fade out. I don't know. I'm trying to work on stories, but I need to be in that headspace because stories come to me all at once. Ani, त्यो experience नभएर पनि होला. I wait for that moment to come sometimes, and sometimes I try to force it, and it doesn't happen. But when it does, it does.
It does. It creates magic. I love that line that you just said. You're always between stories. That's so lovely, and that's also, I think, what a lot of writers and artists are. We're always between work. You can't just shut it off. It's a part of you, and it will always be there, whether you're working there or not. So, would you like to move on to a rapid fire round?
Okay.
I have some interesting questions. Don't worry, I'm not mean. Are you nervous for the rapid fire?
Yeah, if it's about literature, then I am, because I'm not, you know, I'm still like, yeah, I'm a writer. I'm
It's not about literature, it's about your choices as a writer and artist. So I'm not quizzing you of 18th century ma ko थियो यो writer. No, I'm not doing that. Okay, so let's start. Do you have a writing superstition?
No, I don't.
Great. Do you have a favorite place to write?
Yes, it's in my bed late at night when there's no noise or nothing. The lights are off. I put my earphones in for noise cancelling and I just write.
Wow, that sounds great. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Yay, cat person. Ice cream or cakes?
Ice cream.
Okay, ice cream. One writing advice or suggestion that you love and follow?
Keep writing, I guess. That's make a habit of it.
Your favorite artist?
Artist Katie Patterson is this Scottish artist who works with ekdam ठुलो installation. She talks about deep space, deep time, and it's amazing.
She was the one with the moon, the Morse code on moon, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You'd mentioned that before. That's amazing. Your favorite writer?
And that's a tough one.
Okay, it's okay.
Can I just say something that I read recently?
Yeah, sure.
It's Chimamanda Adichieको त्यो The Thing Around My Neck भन्ने.
Oh, great. I've read We Should All Be Feminists. And she also has a TED Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. She's an amazing writer. Do you have a fictional crush?
I don't think I have one. No.
Okay. A writer or an artist that you wish you could meet? You take them out for tea or lunch or dinner.
I don't know. This will take a long time. I
It'll
think.
take a long time, okay.
I'd say Buddhi Sagar. Because it's very. It might be more realistic.
Realistic.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hope he's hearing and maybe you get to meet him soon. Any writing advice you would like to give to anybody who loves to write but might be struggling?
Take chances. I know. Apply for things, because sometimes we're so self-critical about our work that we're scared of putting it out or submit गर्ने यस्तो गर्नेमा. So गरिदिनुहोस् त्यो कुरा चाहिँ त्यही नै भन्छु, because that held me back for a lot, especially for my art. त्यही नै हो.
Great. Anything you want to say, ask, or
To you, or
to even our audience who might be listening?
I want to ask, what are you working on besides the podcast?
Oh, there are a few ideas I'm working on. Let's see if they materialize and become. I'm actually bringing out a lot of things from the past. So like old stories that I wrote like 6-7 years ago, and they're like taking new life. I was actually listening to a Nimrod journal ko a reading bhaइरहेको थियो हिजो, like yesterday morning. It was a free event, Zoom ma bhaइरहेको थियो, and the two winners who had won the fiction contest were saying like they wrote the story like 10, 20, 18 years ago, and I was like, wow, it's like, so that kind of made me feel like, yeah, the work we do can return at any point in time. It's like I think like my peak on something that I write today, it feels like Insta generation. We feel like instant. It has to materialize into something or it has to become something good. But it can come back 10 years down the line. Great.
That's amazing. I look forward to reading it if it materializes
Thank
soon.
you so much. Then thank you so much for joining me here and agreeing to do this recording and talking about your amazing story, The Man on the Bus. All the very best, and I look forward to reading a lot more of your stories in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alpha, for inviting me. It's been amazing कुरा गर्न एकदम रमाइलो भयो and I was really excited and I look forward to अरू यो सबै सिरिज बनेर आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ I hope you do great things with this podcast and I wish you all the best.